Put it in the beat, changing the culture every day of the week. Right now it's more like a vulture, only prey on the weak. But we are here to expose ya, going down as I speak. No excuses, can't refuse this honesty that we seek. Y'all be like, facts are racist. Why I say this? You know it's true. Y'all just hate it. Facts are racist. Why I say this? You know it's true. Y'all just hate it.
13-year-old girls working on TikTok. You saying he just wanna learn how to crip walk. If you ain't talking about sex, then kick rocks. All they care about the chains and the wrist, watch the goddess change. This is something only God can change. Don't get mad at me when I complain about how 4 and 5 black women are beasts. Half of the murders us killing in the streets. Almost half of abortions too. This a rap verse, but this is a warning too. And go against God like there's nothing more to do. But y'all don't care, y'all just really want a portion that's new. Wanna gangbang, do drugs, wish drugs all above. Sell drugs till you in the jail cell, not a club. Now another single mother, cause we lost another brother. Sold to an undercover, kids gotta raise each other. This what you want for the future? Or are you trying to look cool on computers? Claim you a king, but blame the white man. When something bad happens, you feel like a loser. And keep voting the same way. Why? Cause your parents did it too. Truth is your parents are ignorant too, and politicians know it, so now they got you.
We changing the culture every day of the week. Right now it's more like a vulture, only prey on the weak. But we are here to expose ya, going down as I speak. No excuses, can't refuse this honesty that we seek. Y'all be like, facts are racist. Why I say this? You know it's true. Y'all just hate it. Facts are racist. Why I say this? You know it's true. Y'all just hate it. When you tell me how they think it, they reduce it to my melanin. Like I didn't pay the cost, so my brother took a loss for your chance of the donkey or the elephant, but neither one is relevant. This is for the blacks or the whites that are coming off arrogant. Calling me a traitor for not following, I heard it's absurd, and I heard that it's even more prevalent when you don't understand what I've been through. And blood don't tell me who I'm kin to. That's determined in by the friends who share the same values as me. Don't pretend to act like you know everything that I need. Conservative in the way I believe, regardless of whatever you may perceive. I'm black and nobody can take that from me.
Don't attack me cause I ain't no Democrat. Said don't attack me cause I ain't Republican. Yeah, I'm still black. Yeah, I'm still black. Said don't attack me cause of all my politics. You ain't gotta deal with all this shit that I deal with. Yeah, I'm still black. Yeah, I'm still black. I'm still black.
Take that from me. Yeah. This is my right as a citizen.
No all of my rights.
My freedom cannot be limited.
I do what I want. Okay.
Think otherwise, then you ignorant.
Leave me alone, because
And feed your body, and I'm different.
don't attack me cause I ain't no Democrat. Said don't attack me cause I ain't Republican. Yeah, I'm still black. Yeah, I'm still black. Said don't attack me cause of all my politics. You ain't gotta deal with all this shit that I deal with. Yeah, I'm still black. Yeah, I'm still black. I'm still black.
Yo, it's crazy that when I sit back and look, that even within the black community, we have a whole war going on amongst conservatives and others, simply about how we want to move the black community forward.
I saw that on the gram, Snoop made a post. Bashing on some black educated folks. Calling them a coon, no it wasn't jokes. Man, you tripping like your foot caught between the spokes. You couldn't hold a light next to hurricane. Southern Maine with better class and better brains. Out rebuilding our communities and other things. Like making up for all the damage from the dopest slang. Candace O, she's a queen in her own right. Not the type to monetize off her own plight. Working hard for black America day and night. Understand that you're not the only dog in this fight. Terrence K refused to be a product of the system. Bounce around the foster care, no he ain't a victim. You got probation and luckily died going to prison. Then you believe you had the right to pose criticism? David Harris, I can tell the pain's authentic. He truly cares for the people, meaning all pigment. Your music is the reason why this generation's violent. Another reason why I couldn't stay silent. Miss Staten, she's a G, she did real time. All you do is talk about it, a real crime. But even that can't hold her back while she steady climb the long ladder to success in these troubled times. Tell me what's wrong with Pastor Darrell Scott? You hating on the man, simply how I walk with God. When he supported you when you was Snoop lying. Even when the majority figure Snoop lying. Look, I ain't falling for the tongue in cheek. Your virtual threats, man, they kinda weak. Cause I bet you ain't stepping to the Hodge twins. Just to fight with Shaw loses and Hobbs wins. You hate on Diamond and Silk, Paris Bernard. They support the president and that is regardless of all the hate that they receive. Being loyal is a trait that a dog can't conceive, huh? Funny how you say we work for massa. Hold on to that thought, got some questions wanna ask you. Who's in videos with the chains around the neck? Posing next to Trump, the very man you disrespect. Who's buddy with all the Democrats? The very same party owned slaves in the past. Who's the one seen treating women like the objects? Pushing drugs, alcohol seems pretty obvious. Who became a slave to the game? Traded all your moors for the fame. No more calling names. A real man step into the base. Better ask a Breakfast Club how these facts really taste.
That was good, man. Man, I ain't gonna lie, that's why I like watching you, man, cause you be hitting with the spit in the ass. You know what I'm saying? Nigga like me, I don't even do stats. I got common sense. I just be like, listen, that just don't make no sense, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even, but if I had stats, my God.
Yeah.
Got another one. Yeah.
Everybody hate Chris.
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 Welcome to Plausible Foolishness. We are the two kings of the Rube Empire. I'm the Philosopher King, the Ivory Tower, the Mad Scientist Matt, and I've got a perspective on things. You leave out your other titles. The Iron King. The Iron King. We're getting weird. Or I put it in the title. I put... I am 40, yes. Don't feel like it, but I am. Amen. I'd say 35 years, because from what I understand, it was I was 5 when I asked Jesus to save me. I was lucky. I was blessed, no doubt. It makes for a rather boring testimony by some standards, but by others, you know, it's I've been blessed, no doubt. No. I'm not saying I agree with that. I said by some standards. Getting biblical. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Being more conformed to the image of Christ. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're not discipleship friendly, we're seeker friendly. Mm-mm. Yeah. But they never talk about the important things that need to be talked about, like hellfire and brimstone, you know? Because it's trying to keep you out of it. Mm-hmm. Sure. For sure. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-mm. My wife was just asking me about it like literally minutes before we got on, and I was like, I don't know. I got married in 2010, so 11 years. I can't. I was gonna say I can't say that I had much of a dating scene. Samantha was my first girlfriend, and she became my wife, and that's all there was to it. Yep. Well, yeah, man. I could have gotten into much murkier and dangerous waters if it weren't for God. So, that's the way I see it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Twitter bio? Yeah. For sure. Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. No. That's come to be my understanding as well. It only serves them to release information. Yeah, and they show up outside her house and she's like running like mad, like a crazy person. Because an actual journalist was outside her door. An actual one. And she's not used to that because there aren't many. But yeah. because he is not vaccinated. Oh, so it's not just that he isn't, but that he won't. Myocardial inflammation, myocarditis. But he's healthy and an athlete. Well, and they themselves have an interest in that, because if their bodies don't perform, they don't get that money. Or at least their career ends early, you know? What? Wait a second. I think you haven't had audio talk.
Hold on, let me see. Let me check.
Now go.
Talking.
God, this remote crap is killing me.
Let me see. There you go. Now we're good. We got audio now, baby. Death Hunter, can you hear us?
I'm
Boom,
sorry,
we can hear
guys.
us
The
now.
chat
Now,
wasn't
here's the
working.
thing.
Isn't working on my screen, so I didn't see any of your early chats. And
Yeah, bad.
no,
All good now.
and when we do these remote things, there's 2 audio channels that come.
Yep.
And I have to change it every freaking time. It's
Sorry,
annoying.
bro. That's
I'm
why
so-
I give
no, I'm
you
sorry, because you
power.
just wasted your whole breath. Nobody heard a thing that you were saying this whole time.
Oh, I listen. I didn't, because Clapper. I've got I've got a bunch
true.
of people in Clapper listening right now, man. So hey, Clapper, make sure you head over down to twitch.tv/plausible foolishness. Check us out, right? So here's the deal, and we can make the edits, we can make the cuts, baby. It's all good.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the thing. You're recording this too, right?
No.
It's not a recorded episode. It's just going live perfectly.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha. I didn't know. We'll see it though. But long story short, Okay.
My laptop died, so it's been a
it's
great
all good,
couple
dude.
months.
I don't blame you, bro. Hey, bro.
It's not all
man.
good.
That's why we're here. Okay.
It's not all good. I
But
want it
long
to be
story
simple
short,
and
We
good.
got an NBA player that's in trouble for not taking the vaccine. Then we have another NBA player who's in physical peril because he did take the vaccine. And wouldn't you know it, the NBA did not want that player to disclose that to the rest of the league or to the people out there. And the player's like, screw that. I have to tell people why I can't play for the rest of the season because I have an inflamed heart because of this stupid virus or because of this stupid vaccine that I had before. And that's the thing. The kid had Rona already, had already battled through it, gets the vaccine, and then his heart gets messed up to the point where he can't play during the season. So what's hilarious is now we have a
Don't
guy
tell
who's
anybody.
punished.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, don't
That
tell anybody. Don't tell
Pisses
anybody.
me off.
But this is
Why
this is what
is the
every
NBA
league-
involved in keeping the government secrets? In keeping big pharma secrets?
well because the NBA is ruled by China right now, so China kind of rules the conversation.
Forget
remember,
these
Rona
people,
is
man.
gone in China.
I can't take it.
But here's the thing.
No,
Long
I
story
can't
short, our
take it!
government-
You wanted me fired up.
Most of our governments, listen, we don't own our governments. This is the nicest way to put it, okay? Because we're getting weird today. I talked about the biblical precedents to this. We can recap it later on. So we're just going to get into it and get really weird. So you just got to deal with us. But here's the thing. Okay. There is a thing that you need to understand about the Bible. The Bible is incredibly clear who the prince of this world is. Okay? All things are held together in the mind of Christ. Everything is under God's control, period. Even evil, okay? Evil is under God's control. You know why it's under God's control? Because evil cannot overcome Christ. It can't do it, okay? God allows it, though, to show his good mercy of how great he is. You don't understand what good is without evil. But Ray, why do bad things happen to good people? Guess what? Great news. It's never happened. You're a scumbag. I'm a scumbag. We deserve to get smushed the moment that we break the law of God. Period. Sorry, Joe Rogan. It is what it is. You are a scumbag just like the rest of us. We are in dire need of Christ. We should be thanking our stars every time we take breath because God allows that to happen. And I say that because one of a great biblical scholar that was out there, Rob Skiba, just died last night. Big fan of, I was a huge fan of his for a few reasons, which I'll get into in a second. But he really challenged me to get deeper into the Word of God, to understand what God is saying about certain things. And it's not a mystery. God has fully prepared every man of God for all good deeds through the Word of God that he's given us, okay? So when you see these government entities, and I'm going to tie this together, when you see government entities releasing information, it's only for their benefit. And when they keep things from you, which they do a lot, if you're, and I don't want to call you guys idiots, but if you don't think this is happening, please send your information to us, your credit card information in the DMs to us. We have beachfront property in Arizona. We would love to sell you right now and take care of that for you, okay? No returns, no refunds are available, okay? You just got to trust us. But you got to understand,
on
we
that
talked about
scumbag
this.
pretty thick.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I'm a scumbag, so I need Jesus. Now, here's the thing. We are being lied to all the time. And I have said this from the inception of this podcast, which you started, 3 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was the conspiratorial part of Plausible Foolishness. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am still collecting apologies and receipts from a lot of you because you're like, Ray, I thought you were crazy. You're an idiot, blah, blah, blah. And then holy crap. Like, I don't know what to talk about half the time anymore because most of my conspiracy theories are coming true. It just is what it is. And I've been telling you guys this for a long time. But you know why I know this? It's not because I have this intuition beyond my years or something like that. It's because the Bible tells us this will happen over and over and over again. And it talks about it over and over and over again in the Old Testament. It talks about the conspiracies of powerful people to subjugate people. What do you think Satan did? Satan conspired, and Bible talks about this, Genesis 3, Genesis 6, conspires with a third of the angels. Right? Are you talking about spiritual things? At this point, if you don't understand spirituality, I'm sorry for you, okay? 1 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians is talking about the deep mystery that is the spirit. And we are three things, guys. We are mind, body, and spirit. Whether you think you believe that or not, you do believe that there's a spirit. Sorry. The Bible's very clear. There is no such thing as atheists, just liars. Romans talks about that the very creation of existence tells you about Christ, tells you about God. That creation proclaims the existence of God. And that most people, or not most people, the people that refute Christ love their sin more than they love God. They love this, what's the exact verbiage in Romans? It says that, I'm going to have a mind for it now. But long story, they suppress the truth because they love their sin more. And that's in Romans 1. Check that out and double fact check me on that. But what I'm getting at is this, guys. From the very beginning in Genesis, how badly does God fight the idea of kingdoms and massive government? How badly does God fight against that? Let me give you a spoiler alert from jump. Okay? The first kingdom on earth. Does anybody know about this? Not even actual people who are following Christians know this. Who was the first king of the world? Anybody know that one? Matt probably knows.
I would say Nimrod.
Nimrod, ding, 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 winner, 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 chicken dinner. If you don't know that name or understand that story, for God's sakes, crack open your Bible. It's worth a Google and it's worth a read. Please understand that after the flood happens, because you got to understand, creation happens, fallen angels come down, they start banging ladies. That's the number one sin of angels is lust. That's why it's such a powerful, strong sin that's out there is lust, because even angels fell for it, okay? And they had
Women
children.
be hot.
Yeah, women be hot. Because here's the thing you got to think about this. And nobody thinks about this. God made man in his image,
Yes.
right? Hey, I'm going to make someone in our, we're going to make someone in our own image. God talking to the Holy Spirit, talking to Christ Jesus. Hey, we're going to make somebody in our own image. You know, it's not good that he's alone. We should make a helper for him, okay? So God thought, I'm going to make somebody that is perfectly compatible for this man. I'm going to take a rib from you, Adam, and I'm going to make a woman after you, a helper for you. And what's the first thing Adam says, man? Flesh of my flesh, bone of my bone.
He makes some kind of expression too.
And guys, in Hebrew, that means holy shnikes. She's hot.
Yeah.
That's literally, in dumbed down English, that's hot. Thank you, God. And they get busy really quickly. They start banging out kids. Bible talks about the three that they named, Seth, Abel, Cain. Y'all know how that is. I don't have to go over that story. But they start populating the earth. Because the very first command that God gives us is be fruitful and multiply, right? Period. So guess what? Angels are like, geez, oh mama, these chicks are hot. We got to get with these people. They go down, they start having kids. Well, guess what? The offspring of angels and human beings is a thing called Nephilim. You know what Nephilim are?
Giants, my friend.
Gigante in Espanol. Giants. Big, monstrous, humanoid things. Okay? And the Bible talks about this over and over and over and over and over again. Okay? Why does this happen? Because at the very beginning, Satan is at war with God. Okay? You were born into a war. I hate to be matrixy, but you were born into a war that you cannot see, taste, or feel. Okay? You're not being used as a battery, but you are being used in a literal spiritual battle for Satan to try to rise up to the same level as God, and it will never happen. And the only way that he can do that is to try to prove God wrong. But guess what? God proves him wrong over and over and over again. First attack was, hey, let's get some angels to bang these chicks, and let's make some gigantes. Now, I don't think that they knew that was what's going to happen, but they had some big boys. Okay, the Bible talks about some of these guys being as tall as trees. Okay,
well, and not just any trees,
that,
cedar trees, which are quite tall.
There's some crazy stuff that happens to the point where in Genesis 5, God says that all flesh had been corrupted. All flesh. Flesh is not just human beings, kids. That means the animals, the people were corrupted by this line of craziness to the point where God said, yeah, I'm going to take the people that are not corrupted in two of my creation, my animals. I'm going to put them in a boat. I'm going to drown this SOB.
Yeah.
I'm laying waste.
Well, and what it says, what's interesting is what it says about Noah. You know, he was perfect in his generations. And so, like, if you just have a cursory glance at that, you're like, perfect in his generation. Well, no man is perfect. So, but he was, he was a good guy. He was good. That's why he was chosen. But if you've never heard any of this stuff, that's what you think. But really, he's perfect in his generations. In other words, he wasn't tainted by his bloodline was not tainted by angelic interference.
Yep. Now, here's the thing. You just blew minds of many people, okay? Because they're like, well, giants, blah, 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 blah. Why is this important, guys? Because the very prophecy in Genesis 3 is that the seed of the woman would crush the head of Satan.
Mm-hmm.
Satan is trying his best to prevent that from happening. What's the best way of doing that? Hey, I'll just get my boys to come and bang some broads, and we're just going to flood the earth with all these messed up genetic people. And we're going to just pollute God's
There's no
seed.
more woman.
We're going to pollute.
What woman? There's no more woman. There's no more man. There's just these hybrids.
Yep.
And
Running
then
around.
your prophecy can never come to fruition. Boom. I win.
No, well, stop, Matt. I mean, they don't talk about that in Sunday school,
No,
Matt.
they definitely
don't talk about that in Sunday school.
do not. I remember, I mean, I've been fascinated with the idea of the Nephilim, oh gosh, most of my life. I mean, I had to have read Genesis 6 when I was a teenager or whatever, and been like, man, that's freaking interesting as all get up. But I thought that was all that was ever mentioned.
That's it.
You know, just that one verse in Genesis 6 until recently. And but so I used just my imagination to, you know, run wild with it. But it turns out there's a ton of it. It's all throughout the whole book.
Yes.
And it's fascinating
And not only
as all
that,
get out.
And not only that, it's referenced in the New Testament.
That's what I'm
You know that
saying,
book
the
of
whole
Jude
book.
that everybody just jumps. The whole book, exactly. The book of Jude, which everybody jumps away from for some crazy reason, talks about this exact event because this is the very first time the second time Satan tries to usurp God. He tries to do it. That's why the flood is so significant, people. That God finds a genetically pure guy who can carry the messianic line that's going to eventually end up at Christ, which is super important, okay? He has to get rid of almost most of creation, except for 2 of each of the animals that he made, and 8 human beings. Is it 8? Yeah, it was 8. 8 people. And he gave people 120 years to repent. Think about that. From jump, when God said, "Hey Noah, I'm gonna flood this entire place," it had never rained on the earth at this point. Think about this, guys. It had never rained. So Noah was the very first conspiracy theorist, guys. He was the very first one. God told him, "Hey, build this ark." They don't even know what a boat was for back then. Like, what? What
Imagine,
is it? Huh?
Imagine if we could go back in time and we could hear Noah trying to tell the people, and he sounds like Alex Jones.
Oh yeah, no. Noah is literally Alex Jones. He is literally the first.
But with
Alex
that gruffy
Jones.
voice, like,
And
that would be
Oh,
hilarious.
yeah. 100%. If we recast the Bible, we should definitely have Alex Jones as Noah. Like, you gotta understand, bro. God told me it's gonna rain. What's rain? I don't know, but it's gonna happen, and he's gonna wipe out everything. You got 120 years. Repent. Turn to the Lord, the Creator God. Turn to Him. And nobody did. That's why, guys, when this theme happens over and over and over again, with morality, with truth, whatever, guess what? Noah, I just mixed Noah and Moses. Sorry about that. Noah professes the truth of God for 120 years and only 8 people listened. And some argue only like 6 people listened, but we'll get to that here in a second. Now, here's the thing. I set the story up to understand. God wipes out everything except for 2 of each animal and 8 people, okay? Wipes it out. Now we're going to start over. The first thing God tells Noah to do and his sons, be fruitful and multiply. Round 2, and take over the earth. Spread out all over the earth. You know, literally make this your domain, okay? That's what I want you to do. And wouldn't you know it, all those people that come from those 4 families, and they got busy real fast, okay, and populated enough people to make a city. Well, here's the problem. We're 2 generations away from the flood, and every single person on the planet lives in one city. That's a problem, okay? That's a problem. Why?
Well, just look at what
it's
just
a problem.
Just look at what happens in the cities here in America.
Yeah, right. Jeez, seriously. But that's a problem because it literally is defying what God said to do. God said, "Hey, spread out, repopulate, repopulate the earth. Because I had to wipe out all this because it got all muddled up with these Nephilim and these corrupted flesh. We've got to repopulate this thing. Please go out and do it. Now, please go out and do this. And the people didn't. They all went east and just made this big city called Babylon. And guess who the first king of Babylon was? This guy named Nimrod. Because remember, what did we say before? God has not been about this king thing. He doesn't really, because guess why? He is the only king. Christ is king. That's it. Everybody else is just kind of a lesser magistrate that he kind of puts in place. But God wanted them to spread out and multiply. But what they did is they stayed in the city, and then they built a tower that they thought would be tall enough that if God decided to wipe them out again, even though he had just promised them that he wouldn't by water, that they could just fly up to the top of this tower or run up to the top of this tower and outlast God, which is a couple things. One, they didn't listen to him about moving across, listen to God, spreading out over the world. They made this big city. They made this king who God describes him as a great hunter before the Lord. If you just cursorily read that, you think, oh, he was just a really good hunter. No, hunter in the Old Testament typically means you went in and killed a bunch of people. So Pol Pot, Stalin, Hitler started with this guy named Nimrod in this cityscape. And he said, let's build a tower so tall that we can glorify ourselves. And if God, that crazy creator, decides to try to whack us again, we're just going to go to the top of this and hang out and outlast God. Well, what does God do? Halfway through, muddles up their language. Nobody can understand what's going on. And that's how you get 70 nations that are created from the Tower of Babel. And God had to force people to do what they needed to do. Now, I bring this up to say this, okay? If you know that story and really read that story, you've got a maniacal, power-hungry, mass-murdering king who doesn't listen to God. Doesn't that sound like every single government ruler over time? I mean, how many times do we play this out, Big Manny Matt? So it's not a surprise to us, because here's the thing, especially in America, like, yeah, right, but we don't have a maniacal, dictator that kills a bunch of people yet. Yet is the word. Yep. America's very unique, but guess what? We got blood on our hands too.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, Clinton.
Sorry,
I mean, most of our presidents, you got to think about this. Under president's watch, how many babies have been aborted in our country? We're mass murderers too. It's the nature of man, because guess what? We're sinful and fallen. This cycle keeps happening over and over again. Satan works in cycles. God works in seasons, people. You got to realize this. And you would know that if you crack open your freaking Bible and go past Genesis 2, which nobody does. Every single time,
and nobody is teaching this insight, I mean, not nobody,
not at all.
But the ones that are, they're considered on the fringe,
Sure.
They're weird.
Well,
and granted, they all have their own different theories on a bunch of this stuff.
Sure. Well, here's what always happens in Sunday school. It's like, well, God created everything, and then fast forward, people got kind of bad, and then like Noah happened. Like, no explanation of why. Why was it so bad that God had to take out the entire world? Think about that. God has not done that since. Mm-hmm. Think about this. God has not catastrophically destroyed everything ever again.
No, he hasn't.
He'll do it again. Revelations talks about that, but he hasn't done it since. Why? Because people said some naughty words on an email, like Gruden the other day. There had to be something a little bit more that said God was like, you know what? This is messed up. We got to fix this. You know what I mean? And it's in the Bible. It tells you why it happens. But we skip that and we're like, Noah voted, everybody dies. It's a Sunday school story.
Yeah.
And then what happens? We fast forward from that.
Our focus is
all
on
of a sudden,
how did God get 2 of every animal on the ark?
Oh, yeah. Oh, jeez, man. You know what I tell people? Go to Kentucky. Go to Kentucky.
Yeah.
Like, even my non-saved friend, I had a buddy, a non-saved friend, and I'm going to use his name on the podcast, so I'm going to make him, whatever, and he needs to come to know Jesus, and he knows this. But my buddy Ford, who's at the gym, okay? He likes to get in his car, drive places, and I told him, when you go to Kentucky, I want you to stop at this place called the Ark Experience, okay? I want you to go there. Just check it out. Just be an atheist. And I literally want you to be the atheist that you are and then go in there and please check it out. You know why people ask that question? Well, how could you fit two of every animal, blah, blah, blah? Because you don't understand the specs of how big the effing ark is until you actually go to a ark and see the specs of how effing big the ark is. And then you're like, oh, that's why it took 120 years to make.
Yeah.
Oh, it is immense.
4 to 8 people doing it.
Yeah, dude, think about that. That's, God is so good. Now, so you get hung up on that, and then we fast forward somehow to Abraham. We just fast forward. We just skip over Tower of Babel. We kind of like talk about it. We're like, oh yeah, God like confused the languages. Why? Why did he do it? Explain that. And not only that, but the Bible describes Nimrod as becoming a Nephilim. It literally describes that he becomes one in that passage when it's describing what's going on.
There's this term that gets translated as mighty men, but it has contextual meanings. Like David had his group of mighty men.
Mighty men.
But it's the same word, but the context is different.
Yes.
So they were men. They were humans, But then...
And they were described...
But the description and the context with Nimrod is the same as when Genesis 6 says that they were mighty, the children of the angels and the women were the mighty men of renown, It's referring to them as, giants, as Nephilim, as...
Yes. 100%. So... you got to understand this story. You got to understand, like I talked about the section that got blanked out, but the Bible continually repeats these patterns over and over and over and over and over and over again, okay? And what's haunting and why it's important for you to like actually sit and read Genesis 1 through 10 and really pay attention is because Christ himself says, hey, in the end times, it'll be as the days of Noah. Well, what was happening there?
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is that if you just take it like they were wicked, right? All mankind is wicked, right? So it's like how wicked? It doesn't tell us how wicked. So like, what is he even telling us then? If the only explanation is that they were wicked, what is Jesus even saying? Because he's not giving us real information. He's just saying we just have to imagine that it must have been more wicked than it is now because he hasn't come yet, I guess. And that's very loose and like just esoteric, It's
exactly. But Satan wants followers of Christ to have that baby level understanding of that passage on purpose.
Of course.
Because he does not want us to look for the things that are already in the book. That's why, like, the first thing Satan gets you to stop doing is read your Bible. Think about that. Like, even when you're in your crappiest crap, you pray to God. Think about that, right? When things go bad, what do? You pray to God. Like, God, get me out of this one, right?
For sure.
Like, that never goes away.
But the Bible is where God speaks to you.
It's there. He'll tell you exactly what's going on. And if you think that we're insane, I want you to read what Christ says about this stuff. I want you to read what Peter says about this. I want you to read what Paul says about this stuff because he talks about all of this. He talks about all of this happening. That's why Paul's like, hey, listen, Christ ain't coming back yet because it hasn't gotten bam like this. That's why you need to work your butt off. You're not work your butt off, but you need to continue to follow Christ, because one of the things in the early church was they're like, well, if Christ is coming back so soon, why do I got to work? Why do I have to do anything?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And Paul's like, no, you keep pushing the plow, keep doing what you've been doing because we need to glorify Christ, right? But here's the thing that like people understand. Genesis is the foundational, absolutely essential book of the Bible for a reason. And it's not a bunch of fairy tales. It's actual things. If you don't believe this stuff, look at science and how the mental gymnastics they have to do to explain water levels, water showing up in places that it should never show up, explaining why sharks are on the top of mountains, explaining why there's a rain residue on the Sphinx where it's not supposed to be.
Yeah.
Okay? Explaining these unexplainable things that can only be explained if the entire world is covered in water. Okay? Like this is what's crazy. Here's another thing. Giants are that's so far-fetched and crazy, blah blah blah. I want you to go back and look in the 1800s and the accounts of giant bones discovered all over the United States of America. There's a pattern, and I want you to check this out in the future. Don't believe me because we've already been going long.
There is a dude who's been collecting them.
Yes.
We'll try to find the website, and I'll post it in the information below.
Hey, we're going long today. It just is what it is. We're going.
You got to go long.
We're going.
If you're gonna go weird, you got to go long.
Amen. We got to send this to the Blurry Creatures guys because we love them so much.
Sure. But then they'll try.
So
don't bring us on because we're not experts. We don't know nothing but what you've brought to our attention.
Yeah, we don't know nothing, but no. But well, the funny thing is they're talking about the same things that like I've kind of been like looking into for a long time from guys like Rob Skiba who just passed away. But back to what we're talking about. Look at how many accounts of giant bones are excavated in just Native America alone.
Yeah, 700 articles this guy's collected.
Yes.
You know.
Now, the ardent God isn't true atheist. Well, they were just trying to sell newspapers. 700 separate articles from separate places,
separate times,
are trying to sell you newspapers. Now, if you're going to go based on that, I guess the Hindenburg didn't explode, right? Hindenburg didn't go down?
Yeah.
And I'm assuming there was not a guy named Billy the Kid, that he was complete hokum, correct? And I'm assuming that everything that happened in the 1800s never really happened. So the Civil War, just a construct. At least that's what Black Lives Matter wants to believe, correct?
That's all true. And I'm pretty sure, but to that point, I'm pretty sure Davy Crockett didn't kill a bar when he was 3. But
no.
He was a real dude.
Yeah. So, yeah, Davy Crockett's a real guy, right? There's a lot of things that happened with Davy Crockett that obviously tall tales happen.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong, for sure. But interesting, there is a story of Davy Crockett shooting a hairy man. Did you know that?
No.
There's an actual hairy man account.
Okay, hairy man would be
that weird today,
the Squatch, right?
I mean, we don't want to get too crazy for these guys, man. This is entry
well,
level.
To be honest, Bigfoot holds almost no interest to me.
Why? You're like a walking Bigfoot, bro. You're a Sam Squinch.
I'm a Sam Squinch.
You ever see Trailer Park Boys?
No, not enough to. I've only seen little clips.
Bubbles like, Julie, there's a Sam Squinch out there. There's a Sam Squinch.
Sam Squinch. That's great.
Canadians are the best. They're the best. But okay. But back to biblical things, right? So you got to understand, this is a critical thing to understand about time before the flood, okay? And we're talking like 4,000 years ago, right? Some people were going to estimate that the Earth, especially young Earth, I'm a young Earth guy, you're going to estimate that the Earth's about 8,000 to 10,000 years old. This is a time period that this is happening, right? To the point where God has to completely wipe out everything because it's so bad. You got giants running around. You got corrupted flesh animals running around. You got some insane stuff happening. You've got angels in human form chilling, hanging out, okay? Not angels not angels in heaven. We're talking about like fallen angels that have, whatever. You've got a lot of crazy, insane things happening in the Bible. And it's not just there in Genesis 6. We're talking about David and Goliath is one of the most popular Bible verses or Bible stories that's out there, right? But we try to explain it away. Like I read a commentary from what's his face, Malcolm Gladwell, who's not an expert in this at all, but he tried to explain it away. Like, well, David was supposed to win because Goliath probably had giantism and he was like slow, and you know how we think of people that have giantism, which is a real disease that we run into, right? People that they
don't stop growing.
They don't stop growing.
Yeah.
They're lethargic, whatever. No offense. If someone has giantism, it's not going to hold back an entire army from attacking you. Okay. Yeah. If I see a big lumbering oaf, that's not going to scare me. This guy was a monster.
Well, that's the thing.
Who picked up a 200-pound
They'll say that the average person was like 5 foot around there, 5 foot something, and and here's this guy who's 6 something. It's like there's plenty of people who are 5, 5, and I'm here 6'9", and I'm not gonna stop a whole army.
The thing is the measurements for him, because he died, so they clearly can get an accurate measurement of how tall this guy is, was 13 feet tall. Okay, you got a 13-foot guy who can chuck hold a 400-pound shield and chuck a 600 or a 200-pound spear. Okay. Mm-hmm. These are, whatever measurements, blah, 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 based on the First Samuel account, right? And keep that in perspective, okay? I just did a Viking press for 500 pounds, right? I did the 500-pound Viking press today. Banged out.
What is a Viking press?
I thought I was going to die. It's just a shoulder press, whatever, standing shoulder press. Well, 500 pounds. It was fun, okay? I am a very strong person. I'm in the 1% of humanity, okay? I cannot simultaneously hold a 400-pound shield and a 200-pound spear. Oh, yeah, and then have full armor. Not going to happen, okay? Like, we have one of those Thor hammers at my new gym that I had, 75 pounds, and even that was hard for me to hold like this, like a claymore. I was like, oh, this is heavy, 75 pounds. So imagine a 200-pound spear that you're chucking like it's nobody's business. That is insanity, okay, of how enormous these people are. And the Bible, whoa, what do we got here, man?
Luna Lotus OG, thank you.
Yo.
For voluntarily paying your taxes, your liege lords. Thank you.
We thank you. But this is the thing. The Bible talks about giants a lot. And it talks about some really weird stuff as well. 2 Kings talks about satyrs. I'm going to leave that for another conversation. That's part of corrupted flesh. Mm-hmm. First Chronicles talks about David's mighty men killing 2 lion men.
I just heard that recently.
Just gonna throw that out there. That might qualify as corrupted flesh. Would you consider that corrupted flesh?
Yeah, I would.
So there's like cycles happening over and over again. Whoa, what we got here? Luna?
Yes. She gifted a subscription and then subscribed herself. We appreciate that, man.
Thanks.
Welcome to the Rube Empire.
Appreciate it. Oh yeah, we're getting weird today, so it's a lot of fun. Let's Go Brandon only has so much water because Biden's so boring. So it is what it is. Let's talk about the spiritual things that are actually going to count for eternity, because Biden's going to be dead here in a couple of years anyway, so it's all good. Unless he has his vampiric innocence child blood that keeps him alive a little bit longer, but I don't think it's going to help his mental state. But that's a little bit more of Alex Jones. Now, here's the deal. Okay. I love that you said that Noah would have been Alex Jones of the day.
Yeah.
Now I see Noah as totally Alex Jones. Love it. Okay, now back to what we're trying to say. So would Owen Schroyer be one of his sons?
Yeah.
Like one of the sons? Yeah. Sorry. You took me there. My brain went there. Okay. So Satan works in cycles. Here's the thing. Satan, real person, fallen angel. This is real. I hate to break it to you, but it's real. Not only are you evil, but Satan's evil. Paul talks about the principalities of this world. The principalities that Paul's talking about is Satan. Satan's talked about a lot in the Bible. It's not just some figment of your imagination. Christ interacts with him right before this ministry starts. Christ interacted with him at the beginning of time as well. It's crazy. But you got to understand that there is a battle that you were born into that's happening over and over again. Satan has the exact same playbook. Smash people into the same place, corrupt them with evil, try to get them to do evil, horrible things. All of a sudden, some weird stuff starts showing up, giants, fleshed out stuff, crazy things happen, and a lot of people die. It just, the cycle happens over and over and over again. And God is trying to show you, hey, this ain't new. There's nothing new under the sun. I'm in control of it, but this is the exact same playbook that is going to happen over and over and over again, to the point where Christ is literally saying, as in the days of Noah, it's going to be like this again.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what's insane about this whole situation. Professing Bible believing Christians have zero concept of this.
Well, Satan's done his job well. His job.
He's done well,
his
brother.
goal. He's achieving his goal.
I hate to quote that horrible movie, but the best thing Satan ever did was convince the world he didn't exist, right? What is it? The Usual Suspects, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a true statement. And what's crazy about the situation is understanding why is this important? Because guess what? We're supposed to be seeking Christ. We're supposed to be eagerly awaiting his return. And he tells you straight up, hey, by the way, go back to Genesis. When it starts getting like that, I'm coming pretty soon. Because guess what? Last time it got bad like this, I had to whack the whole thing. But when it gets bad like this again, I'm coming.
And he's gonna whack the whole thing again.
He's gonna whack that whole thing, whack-a-mole again, and it's gonna be with some fire this time. So you gotta understand, like, you need to understand this stuff. Now, does it permeate and dominate every second of our world? No, but guess what? When things start getting weird, there's a biblical explanation for this stuff.
Well, name something that's
as the
weird.
government. The government just finally admitted that there's a thing called UFOs, which are unidentified flying objects. Okay?
So they're real.
The government.
So they're real.
That's what the government's alleging. Now, here's the thing. Immediately when people think of UFO, they think of little green men, right? Or little grays, insectolins, whatever, however Tim Alvarito wants to talk about it, okay? That's what immediately they think.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to understand, how does Satan control culture? He keeps telling you these stories over and over and over again, and eventually gets into your mind and you start believing it. Because even when I say Satan right now, a lot of you guys think of what? Red pointy ears, or red pointy horns,
red skin,
little red tail,
forked tail,
pitchfork.
Cloven
He's down
hooves
in hell
and all
waiting
that.
for you to die.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He rules
like,
hell.
He rules
He rules
hell.
and
Yeah,
he torments bad people. That's his job. That is not the biblical account at all.
That's not Satan at all. So Satan's done a bang up job of getting you to think of something that he is not. What's the other one that Satan does all the time? Oh, there's an angel on your shoulder and a devil on your shoulder. No. Apart from Christ, you got no angel on your shoulder. You're dead. You got nothing but bad thoughts, evil things without Christ. The Bible's incredibly clear about that. Okay? Here's another banger. And I will say this because I grew up absolutely loving this show, which was the X-Files. Y'all remember the X-Files?
Oh, it's not hooked up.
Oh, were you going to hit the song?
I was gonna hit the
it's
song.
okay.
Sorry.
Remember, Mulder and Scully, David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson going around figuring out this weird stuff that was going on. The central tenet of the show was these aliens that are out there that are abducting people, experimenting on them, and creating a, which is hilarious now that I know a lot of this, creating human alien hybrids to take over the earth. How funny is that now, Matt?
Yep.
Predictive programming much? Now go ahead.
I was gonna say exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Predictive programming, because they want you to be okay with the idea of flesh being corrupted, because that's Satan's playbook. It's corrupting flesh. Well, Ray, he doesn't have to block the messianic line. Well, guess what? He's going to bring Antichrist. What do you think Antichrist is?
The other theory is that
Go ahead.
that what exactly is it? You know that
No, you're good.
well, humanity was given dominion over the earth,
Yes.
and if they can usurp that dominion, they can arrange
Yep.
things such that they just rule here forever, and the prophecies don't finish because they're not fully fulfilled.
We proved that a
And
liar.
like he knows he's gonna lose, but he doesn't have to
Yes.
lose if the war never ends. You know.
Exactly. Right. So think this through. 70s, 80s, 90s. You got ET Phone Home. Was it Encounters of the Third Kind? The alien boom, Area 51. All those things they're talking about aliens, 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 aliens. You've been programmed to think that these gray things are these interplanetary, entities that come from billions and trillions of miles away to come here to take over, which is hilarious because I think on our show 2 years ago, we literally talked about how science said that it's literally physically impossible for that to happen. Okay. So that kind of blows that idea up. But your idea of aliens is this guy from Mars coming here to Earth, blah, 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 blah. I hate to spoil it, but the entire show is here on Earth. It's in this world. Sorry, kids. But I really want Mars. Tim Alvarado interdimensional battles and blowing up the blah, blah, blah. Listen, I get it, Tim. You're really entertaining. The show is here for a reason. Okay? The reason why Satan is so pissed is because you got to think about this. Revelation talks about when we, followers of Christ, are saved and we get our new spiritual bodies, become like the angels, we will judge the angels. We will usurp their authority. And you've got to think about it. If you're Satan, you are the pinnacle of creation until you fall. And now God has created something that will usurp you. There's a little bit of jealousy, I should say. It's coming around. He will do anything to corrupt that, destroy that, lay that to waste. Okay? The reason why the earth is the show is because God said, hey, I made all these amazing angels, cherubim, seraphim, all these spiritual realms, but hey, let's go a little bit more and let's make someone in our actual image that probably boils Satan's blood. That is why there is an entire attack on what's going on here, because this is the show.
What was his original sin?
Pride. I want to be like God.
He wanted to make himself in God's image.
Envy. Covetous, envy, yeah.
And then he wanted to make himself in God's image. He tries and gets kicked out, and then God goes and makes a creature in his own image.
100%, right? So the show is here, guys, and it's not on Xandar 4. It's not there. And as badly as we want to talk about all these aliens, blah blah blah, that's not
Star
coming,
Trek
guys.
is entertaining, no doubt.
It is.
It is.
Oh,
Stargate SG-1 is entertaining.
Hey, you know what Gandalf said? May the Force be with you. Have you seen that meme? Oh my gosh, it's so much fun. But no, it's entertaining, guys. It's really cool. Space. It's cool. Show's here, guys. Show's here. I hate to break it to you. As badly as we don't want it to be there, if the show's here, that means God has a purpose for this place. That's why the war's here, guys. That's why Christ came and died for this entire world, because he's reclaiming it, because he made it perfect in the first place. But back to the aliens. The deception that is coming, it's very simple, guys. They're going to present the government's starting to roll the wheels out that, there's UFOs out there.
Mm-hmm.
And then when all of a sudden these creatures that we can't explain because we're so, we're just naturalistic, and there's no such thing as supernatural things going on out there, Matt. I mean, supernatural, and the church
is just the process of evolution. On another planet, we knew with billions and trillions of planets that we couldn't be the only one.
Of course, of course,
the only one perfectly fine-tuned on multiple levels to support life.
Why do you think the Smithsonian banks their entire existence on evolution?
Yeah.
Why? They have to have that narrative. Because if there's no evolution, guess what? There's God.
Why do you
Sorry.
think that there's reports that whenever giant bones are found, the Smithsonian shows up? Either that or the Vatican.
Hey. Oh,
so
weird.
That's interesting.
That's strange. Well, because that would blow up evolution. If there are creatures that are much bigger and stronger and far more intelligent than us that existed, that would literally throw out evolution, because evolution's junk, kids. But anyways, and very bankrupt. But I digress. But there's a story that's been built up in your mind that evolution and that these aliens are coming and what is it? Ancient aliens, spermia. They populated the planet for us. Yeah, panspermia. And it's literally the Twilight episode To Serve Man, right? When the aliens show up and they cure all the disease and they feed us really well and they put us in all these, they lock us in domes so we can't really travel, but it's for our protection because they want to end war. That sounds very similar to the Antichrist, but I'll keep going. But really the whole point of it, we think is utopia, but really it's To Serve Man as a cookbook to eat humans. Now, I won't go that far, but the whole plot of this is to destroy humanity because that's how it's been from the beginning.
Yeah, so there's a couple.
Satan wants to destroy humanity.
There's a couple theories that the so-called Greys are gonna come and so like aliens will either come and attack us, or they'll come and then another group will come and present themselves as the saviors, or they'll just come as the saviors, to our.
Yeah. I think they're going to be presented as the saviors.
Yeah, I think at any point
because think about all the joke is, well, the reason the aliens haven't showed up is because we're so bad here, right? Think about it. Like, how many people have said that? Because that is being programmed into your brain to think this way, so that when something shows up, what is? Well, Ray, if these aliens are interdimensional beings, then what the heck are they, man? What are they, bro? Remember that Bible says that the all flesh was corrupted? Here's the thing. What do you do with a creation that is not human and not angelic? What do you do with that? They come to an angel and a woman come together. They make these Nephilim, not created by God. This is an abomination. Clearly, this is why God wanted to whack it, okay, and get rid of it. It's why the first thing that happens when the children of Israel go in the Promised Land is they start destroying Rephaim and Nephilim that are literal embodiments of this in the Promised Land. God's not a genocidal maniac. God is cleaning up giants. How many of them do you see nowadays? Reread that whole section again and put it in the context of giants. It'll change your perspective really quickly. Don't believe me? Look up Og of Bashan, Sion. Let's see, all of the Rephaim in Gaza that don't get killed by Joshua that eventually show up, and that's Goliath, and so on and so forth. But I digress.
Well, just the story of the Jews when they first get to the Promised Land with Moses, and they send in the spies. What do they say, and why do we ignore it? They say the land is flowing with milk and honey, but there are giants in the land.
Yeah, they're just really tall, man. They're just really tall people.
Why do we ignore this?
No.
Why do we ignore it?
Well, because
why do we try to justify it with our modern thinking?
Because it's supernatural, Matt. It's supernatural, and it goes against evolution. Okay? We're the best of the best, man. We're getting smarter and better every day, Matt. Come on, bro. Even though science doesn't show that at all.
We are arrogant, yes.
We're getting dumber. And testosterone's dropping, and we're getting worse, and it's harder for us to make babies. But ignore the science.
And why is that?
Okay, wait, believe the
and
science.
Why is that? Why are all those things true? It kind of feels like there's a plan that's being enacted, and we're falling victim to it. A plan to weaken humanity for maybe some kind of invasion, some kind of usurpation, some kind of
stop
tyrannical.
You're getting too weird now.
overtaking or whatever.
But Matt, we're Christians. We don't believe in supernatural things like God coming in flesh and resurrecting himself and walking on water and solving ailments and doing absolutely impossible things. We don't believe in supernatural things, Matt.
No.
Come on, bro.
Raising Lazarus from the dead is a completely normal event that happens all the time.
But yeah, but this is my point, right? We've been dumbed down in modern society to the point where we think we're the smartest of all time. Spoiler alert, the people that were closest to Adam were much smarter than us. Sorry, they were way smarter. You want proof of that? Explain the pyramids. Spoiler, you can't. Look it up. We can't even replicate what they did in the pyramids. You really want a mind screw? Go check out not Chichen Itza, Machu Picchu. Please explain to me Machu Picchu.
Yeah.
If we're so intelligent and we're the pinnacle of human society, explain Machu Picchu for me, please. Just explain it.
So now, are you saying that the
I would
humans
love
were?
to hear your theory. Oh yeah, I think the humans were not. I think for two reasons. This is a theory. Okay, so this is Ray's opinion of what's going on. So this is not biblical. So we're stepping out of it a little bit. Okay, but you got to think about this. Adam is the pinnacle of creation. Adam's the pinnacle. Okay.
Sure.
When sin enters the equation, there's a natural degrading of everything,
Yes.
right? Adam lived super long, 900 and some odd
Yes.
years, right? Methuselah lasts 940 years. Noah's old enough to make an ark for 120 years. If you're alive for that long, do you think that a couple things? Do you think that from a physical standpoint, you're going to be superior? I'd say yes. I think from a mental ability, you're going to be better. I think that from a wisdom standpoint, you're going to be better. Because you're like, think about how dumb you were at 18. Like, think about that, man. How dumb were you at 18?
I was a genius. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you're a moron. Okay. But think about in context how much smarter and wiser you are now.
Mm-hmm.
And then imagine 20 years from now how much smarter and wiser you will be from this point. Because you're going to know more, you're going to learn more, you're going to be better. Now, imagine you can hang out with your great grandpa.
Yeah.
Think about being born in the line of Noah, and you can talk to Methuselah. You could talk to, I don't even know if maybe Adam was still alive at the time when Noah was, you know what I mean? But think this through. You can literally talk to a collective group of people who've been alive for 500 plus years. Think that through. How much better are you going to be physically and spiritually, right? Because where are the preservatives at back in the Noah days, bro? Where's the soy burgers? Where is the fluoride in your water? Alex Jones. Like, where's that at? It's not there. Because you got to think about this. If people don't think about this, IQs have been dropping since the 50s. Testosterone levels in men are dropping. Because you got to think about this. What is the third law of thermodynamics? All things start going down. Mm-hmm. All things go down, man.
Entropy.
All things that entropy. What do you think physically, spiritually, and mentally entropy happens from the point of the greatest creation God makes to us now? You think we're smarter? Get the blank out of here. Because you got a cell phone? Get out of here, bro. Get out of here.
So you don't put any stock in the angels having imparted information.
Oh no! But that's part of it, right? Okay. If you are literally in a line of people, or you're in a society where angels walk with humanity, and even and this goes back to the Bible, right? Look at the people that are early listed in the Bible. Okay, the line of Cain talks about his son was the creator of harps. Okay. Blacksmithing was created by these people who are walking with angels. They're with angels, they're with people, fallen angels, they're with Nephilim. They're the height of creation, they live longer, and they're with people, or they're with angels who have literally been at the throne room of God. Does that make sense? So all of the things before the flood, these guys had way more advanced mindset, way more advanced technology. Well, where's the remnant of it? Imagine the entire world getting decimated with water. And you tell me. Because what people don't think about is this. You remember the tsunami that hit Japan, was it 4 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
And started like kind of like nuclear situation and whatever.
Fukushima.
When that water came in, it wiped away roads. Like, think about that. Water just coming from the ocean picks up road and takes it. It takes it, you know what I mean? Just gone. What do you think happens in the entire world? Now, I'm not saying that they're running around like George Jetson or something like that back then. I'm not going to say that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But what I will say is you've got places like Machu Picchu that cannot be explained by any scientific rational idea. It ain't coming from a bronze.
There's no mortar.
Bronze hammer and ball.
There's no mortar.
There's no.
But yet the rocks are perfectly in line. The seams are perfect. And it requires no mortar to stay standing for thousands upon thousands of years.
And their best guess, Matt, is it's laser cut. How's that happen?
Yeah. Well, they're
just
you know, like when you
bro.
like burned ants with a magnifying glass, they just did that.
Yeah. How do they know to make a magnifying glass? How do they know to? But that's what I'm saying, bro. Like this idea that we're crunking some cavemen back then is the most laughable idea of all time. They can't explain this stuff. They can't even explain the pyramids. Oh, it was a bunch of slaves and they rolled these big limestones. But dude, it's impossible.
There was a company out of Japan that was wanting to build their own pyramid and do it the way that it was supposed to have been done. And all the theories when they mapped it out, it was just, this is impossible. And
here's the kicker, Matt.
Financially unfeasible.
Yes. But you know what the kicker of that whole story is? They relented and realized that they couldn't do it, so that they went to modern technology to try to pull it off and still couldn't do it.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that part.
So wait a minute. Bunch of dumb cavemen back then, bro. Give me a break. Go, like anybody that believes.
It reminds me of. Did you ever play the
Your mental.
Did you ever play the Civilization game? You know, Civilization 1, 2,
oh,
3, 4, 5, 6.
Yes.
And like in 30 turns, you can build the Great Pyramids or whatever. You know, you just got some guys hammering at the, at the square on the screen, and then all of a sudden, boop, you gotta.
Hey, Satan's an incredible liar. But like people don't know this. Like people don't know this. You don't talk about this in school. We can't make the pyramids.
But you're not allowed to talk about this in school. The Smithsonian has seen to that.
Like you can't make the pyramids, guys. I don't think you understand this. You cannot make the pyramids. You cannot do Machu Picchu. You can't do it. So how did they do it? Something's got to be going on here.
The so-called Bronze Age.
And maybe. The Bronze Age.
So, like, bronze isn't even strong enough to chip away at the rock that they used.
So
build
did they
Machu
like
Picchu.
forget the technology? Like here's my thing. Did they forget the technology? Like NASA forgot the technology how to go to the moon? Is it like the same thing?
We all know what the answer is.
How'd that happen?
Ancient aliens.
What's that? Because here's the thing. I think sometimes, like, it's like, think of this. They forgot the technology. And the rationale, here's the rationale, Matt. People will be like, well, it's like how we forgot the technology for the 1960s, how to get to the moon. Like, are you kidding me, man? Like, stop. You already have me doubting this insanity, but just stop. Don't do that. But anyways, like, you've seen that clip, right? Where the astronauts like, well, we forgot the technology of the greatest moment in human history. Ta-da-ta. Anyways, my point is this, like, you got the explanation for all this craziness that we don't believe, that we don't think about, is in the Bible.
Mm-hmm. Now, is it like expressly laid out in a in fine
a neat
detail.
story.
No.
But you can use your brain.
Yes.
Like if you
These
have
are
a
giant
society,
leaps.
yeah. If you have a society full of people, not people, let me digress because I'm going to explain the aliens here in a second in the best way that I can surmise. Okay. But if you have humanoid giants that are as tall as cedar trees, that's like what, 30, 40 feet tall?
Yeah. Yeah.
How hard would it be to pick up a big limestone brick and walk it a couple miles where it's supposed to be?
And you gotta not think of it like, you know, like look at our giants today. You know, you got like
Yeah.
who's that Chinese basketball
Shaq.
player?
Yao
You know what I mean? Where he looks like he's like he's just super thin, and you know, like me, I'm super thin,
No.
but it's more like Shaq, but a 30-foot Shaq.
But Shaq times 30-foot Shaq Diesel.
Yeah, where he's
like
thick
think about this.
and you know, muscular.
Yes. Because here's the deal, and it begs the question too, right? Like, how are these civilizations out in some of the most remote places in the world? Well, it would be impossible if we're, cave dwelling, mental midgets, and we're not smart, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's so many crazy things. Like, you got to think about the people of Polynesia, right? How did they find those islands? How did they get to those islands? Well, they just were really good wayfinders and blah, blah, blah. So you're just going to go into the empty ocean and not know where you're going?
Away.
Yeah, right? Think about this. And there's no slight on the Polynesian people. I'm not saying that. But there's some accounts of a few things. Like, if
especially with the superstitions of monsters.
Yes.
You know.
But is it a superstition? I mean, no,
yeah.
I mean, let's get real.
That was going to be my next point.
How much of the ocean is explored? How much is the ocean explored? And if you got 30-foot men, do you think the expanse of the ocean is terrifying to them to swim? Come on, man. Or boat to, or whatever. Like, it's not. But I digress. But back to the aliens. Here's the thing. So you've got humanoid giants walking around that are the creation of angels and human beings. They're an abomination to God.
Mm-hmm.
What happens to that soul when it gets completely annihilated by a flood?
Well, it's got to go to heaven, right?
No.
Oh wait, yeah, you mentioned it was an abomination to God.
It's an abomination to God. Doesn't go to the lake of fire because nobody's there yet, kids. Mm-hmm. Sheol, as it's described in the Bible, was designed specifically for the fallen angels, those 200 angels that came down and made some sweet whoopee to some hot human women and birthed some monsters.
Known as the Watchers, in case you're wondering.
Known as the Watchers.
Book of Enoch.
But described in the Bible in Genesis 6, right?
The Book of Enoch is quoted in the New Testament.
What? Stop. Even Jesus quoted it? Stop that, man.
Was it Jesus?
Don't you do that to me. Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
We had Jesus quoting it, and on top of that, like what people understand is when Christ dies in Jude, Peter talks about where Christ went. Christ went to profess to the literal fallen angels, the Watchers, that are chained in Tartarus right now. He went and professed and said, "I win." By the way, like that's in Jude. Read it for yourself if you don't believe me. The New Testament, yeah, exactly. You think Christ did the DX chop or just the quick one? I mean, what do you think you hit him with?
I don't know. Because
anyway,
well, if you know what DX stands for, Degeneration X, that might be more of a Watcher thing than a.
Yeah.
I guess he probably strolled in there like Vince McMahon. No chance.
Yeah,
that's what you got.
No chance. Yeah, but think about this, right? So that's the
and
reality.
it
of the
all
situation,
becomes
right?
wrestling.
So, always goes back
It's
to
all-
wrestling, man. The world is
the
wrestling.
world is wrestling. It was always wrestling.
It was always wrestling. But no, I mean, so what happens to the spirit of that person, right? Because every physical being has mind, body, and soul, right?
Well,
What happens to a soul that
every human,
human. But you're
and they were
half
human enough, yeah.
half angelic, half human, half angelic. What happens to that spirit? What happens to it?
It's a great question. I don't know.
Can I offer a theory?
Sure.
Where do you think demons come from?
Well, we were always taught that demons are the fallen angels.
That's not true at all, because the Bible doesn't describe them as that at all. That's another thing that is in Genesis. Well, more in Genesis, Deuteronomy. I mean, it's been very eye-opening to go through the beginning of the Bible, because you got to think about this. The Bible says the fallen angels, the watchers, are chained up in Sheol right now. So who are the people, or who are the entities that Christ is casting out of bodies, who is claiming the truth of who Christ is? Who are those people? I mean, the easy explanation is, well, it's just the fallen angels and blah, 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 blah. But Paul talks about principalities and powers. There's a really good book out there that you have it now, Judgment of the Nephilim, and he makes a really strong biblical argument for that, and I'm kind of with him on that because of a few things. If your body is completely destroyed by the flood, your disembodied soul, where do you go? Why do you think? And here's what I throw this out there, because to your point, you made a really good point earlier. Early humanity is walking with angels. They have a supernatural knowledge. Those Nephilim have that same supernatural knowledge.
They were
right?
literally
Think
the
about
children
that.
of the angels, you know?
Yes. So if they're the disembodied souls of those, if they're disembodied souls, so they're not down with their daddies, locked up in Sheol, they're definitely not in heaven.
Well, my only question is, where do humans who, full-on humans who don't believe, they don't go to Abraham's bosom, where do they go?
Well, I mean, that's the argument would be, when Christ talks about the poor man and
Lazarus,
the poor man and Lazarus, the great gulf fix, right? Because at the very end, like, hell itself is not till the very end. Right? Hell is the point where everything,
the final judgment.
But what's funny too about the demons is this, to me, if they're down there as well, notice that demonic activity always comes from the earth. It always comes up. It's always coming up out of the earth. It's always, my contention is they're either roaming the earth or they're down there coming up, and they have to be drawn, summoned, whatever. And demons are a real thing, guys. I mean, if you don't believe that, no offense, you're probably not a follower of Christ. You need to figure that out. And then 2, experience demon-possessed people, and that will change your life real fast. But my contention is this, Big Matty Matt, this is my theory with the demons, because there's more than just fallen angels. There's cherubim, seraphim, there's different types of spiritual beings, right? My thought process is this: those aliens that are coming, I don't want to say that there's engineered bodies for them, but they're almost the embodiment of those previous Nephilim that were here before. That's why they're going to have a supernatural knowledge that we don't have. They're going to be able to think through things that we don't have. That's why they're going to appear to be from another, dimension, whatever, because they're from a spiritual realm and they have a knowledge that we don't have, right? That's where I think that one of the deceptions of aliens is going to come out. Sorry, this is where it's getting weird and all that fun stuff like that, right? But that's my theory on what that entity is. So, like, when people are going to be like, oh, look, the aliens are here, God's not real. No, that proves God's more real, because that's literally what they're talking about with these disembodied souls. These are spiritual entities that can make themselves flesh and appear. And the other theory that I have, Big Matty Matt, too, we talked about, I think on the show before, we talked about demons. I always tell people about to look up what Lamb is. Lamb is the special friend of Aleister Crowley. If you guys don't know who Aleister Crowley is.
He was an occultist.
Yeah,
he was founder of, not founder, but he was a, he was a Satanist.
Well, he's the Church of Satan guy. Yeah.
Anton LaVey is like the founder, LaVeyan Satanism and all that. But Aleister Crowley was a big time Satanist, and they did awful things, and like I remember walking through Books a Million, and it was close to Halloween, I think, that year at the time, and so they they had all their it was the time for spooky books and whatnot, and in their bargain section they had a book of Aleister Crowley's writings right there, and I'm like, why would you put this up, man? This man was one of the most horrendous people ever.
And how does he know about Satan in that spiritual realm of occultism and evil? He's calling forth demons. Demons have a unique knowledge that when possessing people, they create superhuman strength, right? The account in the Bible of the man who is...
The Gerasene demoniac.
The Gerasene demoniac. What's funny about that story, you know where Gerasene is?
Where is that?
It's at the foot of Mount Hermon. Did you know that?
I didn't know that, but I knew that...
Bro.
When Jesus is saying, when Jesus is laying out the verse that the Catholic Church misuses to make their Pope, essentially God on earth.
Well, I wouldn't say misuse. I would say rape and pillage the wrong way. But keep going. Sorry about that, man.
Well, you like to be inflammatory in your language.
Dramatic.
And
inflammatory.
But when he says, on this rock will I build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it.
Yep.
He's literally on Mount Hermon, which is where the Book of Enoch says that the 200 watchers descended to go make love to women and, produce the Nephilim and start this whole thing that we're dealing with now.
Christ returns to that mountain for the Mount of the Transfiguration.
Exactly.
As well, by the way.
But he's literally saying on this rock, like this rock, you guys are the church that I'm building, and I've started it here right now on this rock, and then Mount Hermon overlooks Caesarea Philippi, in which there was a giant cave / pit that had an altar to Pan. And if you remember, Pan is a goat man, a hybrid.
A hybrid?
Interestingly
enough. Corrupted flesh?
Yeah.
That's so weird.
In which they would literally throw their children to worship him. They would throw their children into this pit to worship him. And they called that pit the gates of hell.
Yeah, but you would have to you'd have to understand the times and history, Jewish and Greek tradition. You'd have to know those things. You know what I mean? You'd have to be more than just on this rock, Peter.
He was laying out a declaration to the powers of this world.
Yep.
And saying, I'm building my church on this rock where you started the defilement of the human race. And all your power localized and represented in this location or any location on this earth will not prevail against it. How does that
moment, bro.
When you hear that, when I heard that for the first time, it was like, My God. The layers that I have not been privy to my whole life.
Yeah.
You know?
And you've been saved for 35 years, and you're just coming to
What a
us.
crappy, superficial understanding of just that one verse. What more am I missing?
Well, here's the other thing that's going to blow you away. And I just thought about that when you said that. So God declares three times to the principalities, fallen watchers, these guys that came down and had sex and made these Nephilim, 3 different ways. So he's standing at the foot of Mount Hermon. Upon this rock, I will build my kingdom, and you'll be called sons of man, which is literally stealing the title, by the way, that they had, because they were sons of God, right? We're all sons of God now. On that same mountain, he goes up and transfigures into his actual form, his holy form. Oh yeah, by the way, when he dies and he's down in Tartarus, he professes to them again. So from a spirit standpoint, he's dead, professing I win. Physically in the body, Christ at the foot, he's professing, oh, I win. And in the Godhead at the top of the mountain, which is the mind, I'm professing it. So 3 different ways he tells them the exact same thing, which is the triune mindset. So it's spirit, God, and man. I mean, I just had that epiphany as you were retelling that story, which is what is in the Bible, which is insane. So this is vitally important. It's important enough to Christ to tell people, hey, I have complete ownership over this situation.
Yeah.
So when the government starts throwing out UFOs your way, they're interdimensional, blah, 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 blah. These are demons or fallen angels. Take your pick. That's what it is.
Either way, it's a deception. And don't believe it. Don't let them alter you.
And here's some further proof of that too. That's what we were talking about with Aleister Crowley. Aleister Crowley, I'll consider the most satanic man of all time, had a spiritual guide, and his buddy was called Lamb. If you don't believe me, look this up and Google it yourself.
He drew him.
Google search it. It's Aleister Crowley, Lamb. He physically drew his spiritual buddy.
His spirit guide.
And it was a demon. His spirit guide, which was a demon.
And I think he would admit
and
I think he would say that too.
Yeah, it was a demon. His demon buddy strangely looks like the same thing I see on X-Files running around chasing Mulder and Scully. Strange. Looks the exact same way. And we hide that and bury that because that would reveal a little too much truth, and that would give insight to that, oh wait, these big-headed whatever, green and gray, whatever are, oh, they're interdimensional. No, they're demons or fallen angels. Take your pick. That's what it is. That's what you're about to run into. And they're going to tell you, oh, we're a higher form of intelligence. And they might wow you with some signs and wonders too, that they can do things that normally we can't do. But that's another reason why they've dumbed down supernatural things, Big Matty Matt. So that we're like, oh my goodness, we should worship these things, right?
Or what about my faith? Oh my gosh.
Oh.
The Bible never talks about aliens, so it must not be true.
No, it does. It talks about them a lot. But here's the thing about Revelation, too. Think about Revelation. How does the entire world come under one religion, under the Antichrist? Well, imagine if the Antichrist is in tight with these guys, and these guys are telling you, oh, here is the real faith.
What if the Antichrist is the leader, and he descends from the heavens?
Yeah.
And miraculously cures disease. And
Crazy.
and lengthens the lifespan of humanity, and but ultimately in the end ends up making humanity not human anymore.
What? But I thought the mark of the beast was the COVID-19 shot.
Luna says, "What is it with anal probes?"
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
My understanding is that that's nonsense. That's actually that's more of a joke in the UFO community.
True. But if you think about just even that joke, though, there's a sexual element.
Yeah.
To fallen angels.
That is true.
They came to probe some ladies, and because they were beautiful, like that's so crazy. But yeah, anyways, there's so much to that. But and there's so much we could go into, and we've already we're almost at 2 hours, and I don't care because I want to keep going with this, because I think we should part one this, because there's so much, as we really didn't get into the Giants as much, we didn't get into whatever, but you got to think about this, people, like the government's admitting UFOs now. Why? Well, one, they need a nice distraction from all the stupidity that's going on around you. I mean, you got to think about this. You have an open border right now where if you wanted to, if you're a terrorist, all you'd have to do is just walk across our southern border. That's all you'd have to do. You can do that right now. How's our economy doing right now, Matty Matt? Good? Yay? Nay?
Oh, it's fantastic. Fantastic.
Right? Like, how is our shipping lanes going from the cheap crap we're trying to get from China?
I mean,
how's that going right now?
I mean, just look, there's tons and tons of boats,
Yeah.
just, ready to come into America. So we got to be doing great, except that they can't get in.
And listen, get
and
over
why
it, you
can't they
stupid
get
Trump
in?
voters.
That's the other question. That doesn't seem to get answered.
Weird. They can't get in, but people can walk across the southern border. Think about that. Now, here's the other fun thing. Remember, you dumb rubes, Trump lost. There was 81 million voters. There was nothing crazy happening. Maricopa County was a nothing burger, even though there was 10,000 votes that changed Biden, that were between Biden and Trump, and there were 17,000 duplicate votes, not including other votes that made no sense whatsoever. Don't look at that. Don't look at the clear China connections that are going on in our government now. Don't look at the CRT that's happening in the world. Don't look at the madness that's happening with the mask and social engineering that's happening right now. But in the midst of this, they tried to throw you a bone to try to distract you from it with UFOs. But what's funny is they admit it and nobody cared. Think about that.
And that brings me to a point. It kind of begs the question: why did they keep it from us in the first place? Oh, because they didn't want to incite mass panic. Well, they revealed it and nobody seemed to care. So, again, why did they keep it from us in the first place? Well, we're different from the people in the 50s or whatever. Well, that's your modern arrogance, again, at play. You think you're different and better than the people of the past.
We've been conditioned better than the people of the past. We've been conditioned because it started with them. Because remember, the Twilight Zone started getting that idea going of these men from Mars, right? And as this thing keeps progressing, it's becoming more and more accepted. The idea of an alien. If you tell your daughters, "Hey, what's an alien?" They have the cartoon idea of what this entity is. Mm-hmm. Think about that. They've done a bang up job of conditioning us
sure.
and preparing us
for sure. But it still doesn't answer. It still doesn't really answer why they kept it from us.
Well, why would they lie, Matt?
Why would they lie?
Why would the government lie?
Why would they lie?
Well, why would they lie?
For their own wealth and power, always. They only, like we said at the beginning, but you couldn't hear Ray say, they only reveal what is to their benefit.
Yeah.
They didn't want us to know because it served a purpose for them. And what purpose is that? Their own wealth and power. Like, we haven't talked about how the elites, but maybe we'll get to it later, how the elites are potentially in league with these forces from another world, quote unquote, that that want to
come more than in league,
usurp our authority.
I would say they're more than in league. They're in line with these people. These are the same people. Like, and we'll have to get into it. Another thing. I'm going to tell you straight up, and I'm going to tell the Rube Nation this. I'm never going to jump on the reptilian bandwagon. I think that's horse piss. Okay, no offense. I think that's dog trash. But the concept of an elite group of people that have a secret knowledge, almost like an Illuminati or Rothschild or Bilderberg or all the countless secret societies, whatever. And the fact that people that ultimately become in power Go ahead.
No, I was
What's
just
up?
listing more. Rosicrucians, Jesuits,
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah,
Yeah,
blah.
execution.
The
Just keep going down the
Vatican,
line.
so
I
on and
mean,
so forth.
Freemasons. Geez, it's terrifying that we can keep rattling all that out. Knights Templar. Geez, keep going. But think about this, right? There's so many of these people, and if you trace their lineage, they all go back to the same type of families, which is weird. And these families have been around for a long time and always seem to be in power. So it is interesting that, knowledge gets passed down really well from family to family to family. No offense, it just does. It's just how it is, man. But we can go into the next, part two. We'll part two it, the connection, whatever. But like when you think about like UFOs and the revealing of this, and we haven't really been able to talk about it on the show, but there's so many biblical references to this madness and insanity. Like, and there's so many things you can go with, like, and I won't even go there, but think about chariots of fire, buddy. Elijah swept up in a chariot of fire. Well, that's weird because Apollo was described as a guy who could ride in a chariot of fire in Greek mythology, but we won't go crazy there or whatever. And it's like, imagine a chariot
There's
of
also
fire.
Ezekiel's wheel within a wheel.
Yeah, wheel within a wheel. Interesting. A wheel. Is there something that sounds like that? A wheel within a wheel? I don't
know. Some kind of
but it is like
saucer or something.
It's like almost like it's almost like it's a supernatural, spiritual vehicle by people that have a higher intelligence of something than we do, almost angelic. But with that, I wouldn't want to tie that together.
You know what is always interesting is that the narrative with ancient aliens or whatever, like it seems the scoffers, their narrative only goes in one direction. Oh, it's talking about wheel within a wheel. That proves aliens, right?
No,
that proves that aliens. This is just early man misconstruing aliens as angels and making it into a religion, or the Bible is true, and it's giving us a glimpse of what we are perceiving as aliens because we reject God and His Word.
Weird. What? The other side of the coin could be true? Shut up.
That's ridiculous.
Insane, bro.
That's ridiculous.
So you're telling me that the Bible talks about demonic forces similar to this that happened before wheels within wheels, chariots of fire, and very similar things to what we're being revealed to right now? The Bible talked about that already?
Maybe.
You know what's weird? The older I get, the more this Bible thing, it just seems more and more true. It's crazy.
Yes, we are crazy.
The Bible's not a science book, guys. Bible's not a science book, even though it talks about elements 4,000 years. Well, not 4,000 years. They talk about elements. Peter talks about the elements in the early church founding, which is within the first, 50 years of AD. Mm-hmm. And we don't discover elements until the 1600s or something like that.
Yeah.
So it took modern science to catch up.
Even then, that's not the intent of Peter's writings.
Well, it's not. But doesn't that point out something though? Like, think about that, dude.
But then there's going to be other things that the scientist points to and goes, well, this isn't blah blah blah, and it's like, well, yeah. But that was not the intent of this book, Job wasn't writing a science manual,
Sure. Hey, I mean, I don't know.
It's still fascinating. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying we don't even need to look to it for science.
Well, science is just clearly an observation of God's creation.
Exactly. Science. Science and the Bible are not in the same realm. They instruct each other, I think. The whole reason we do science is because we believed in a God who was orderly and produced an orderly world. Science was
No,
born after out of the
chaos.
Judeo-Christian ethic. It wasn't born out of the philosophy of the Greeks, because the Greeks still held to their pantheism, and their gods were capricious, and none of it was just the whim of the gods. So that mentality doesn't lead you to science.
Like a weird fallen angel. But yeah, no, keep going. Sorry about that, man. That could be misconstrued.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh man, I went there. Sorry, I went there. But no, I mean, the other thing too, to the whole science deal. Science is an science is a descriptor. It's not an explanation. Like, science doesn't explain. Like,
science can't answer why. It can answer how.
Exactly.
It can answer what. You know, it can answer who,
can never explain why.
when, maybe, sometimes. But it can never answer the real question that is burning in our hearts, which is why.
Why? Yep. Agreed, man. We got to table this, because this is one of my favorite discussions we've had. We might have to part 2 it next week, man.
Okay, I'm down.
What do you think?
I'm down.
Because we covered the Gigantes, we covered Lamb and his buddies that are demons. Well, we started to talk about the elites.
Yeah, that's where we need to go next.
we covered a lot
That's
today.
where we need to go next.
And we didn't have to go. And we didn't have to talk about Let's Go Brandon. You know, we didn't have to do that. You know what I mean? Which is great. So, and we didn't
have to talk about COVID again for the freaking 1000th time.
Oh gosh, screw COVID. I'm over it.
So am I.
I'm so over it. I'm just done. I don't care. I don't want to talk about it. It's the flu. I'm sorry, guys. You oversold it, and you're getting exposed. But anyways, long story short, love you guys. But we were talking about that back in January of last year. We're so groundbreaking. I hope that YouTube doesn't delete our January stuff, so we can go back and be like, told you.
Yeah.
This is going to be a fun one to be like, told you too, in a couple years. Told you. Oh, God isn't real because the aliens aren't here. Oh, check the Bible. Just read it. Okay, cool. All right. Love you, man.
You too.
Here's the deal. That was a fun show. Clapper. Make sure you check us over at twitch.tv/plausible foolishness. We're everywhere. On Twitch, we're on YouTube Live. We just did a long live today, which was great. We appreciate everybody that was in the comments today, which was amazing.
Normally it's a shorter show, but this was
a
special.
We got weird today.
A plausible foolishness special.
It sucks. And we did the whole proper biblical setup too for this. So it wasn't just like a massive jump leap. But you know what? God probably was like, screw it. We want to go right into the fat of it. So it's all good, man. So, but we appreciate everybody for hanging in there today. Matt, good to see you again. I see you every day now. So I'm like, aren't you just sick of seeing my face? Aren't you sick of it, bro? You liar. You lie. You lie.
Just because you want it to be so you don't have to see me.
No, I love you. I do. I just know how I get on people's crazy, man. But
I've never been that guy.
Listen,
seriously, I don't think this is true of you, but growing up my whole life, I've always been the one who befriends the weird person that other people don't quite understand. You know?
Me too.
And so, I don't think that you're the weird person that people don't quite understand. But if you're going to take that role, this is who I am. I'm the guy who befriends that guy. So I'm here. I'm in it.
I do too. I'm the befriender of the weird. Is that when we get along?
That is, yes.
We're weird befrienders? Yes. All right. I'm down. I like it.
Luna says, me too.
I'm excited. Me too.
All right, well.
Hey, long story short, but Rob Skiba, look up his stuff. I want to do a couple plugs too. Here's a couple things to help you along with this deal, okay? The ultimate source of truth and knowledge, it's the Bible. Read the Bible.
Amen.
If you don't believe me, look this stuff up. It's all over the Old and New Testament. You want your mind blown? Start with Jude. Just read Jude slowly. Just read it. And you're going to be like, wait, what? They didn't talk about this in Sunday school. What? And then if you need explanation of where that is, then jump over to Genesis and just read the first 10 chapters of Genesis. And do something crazy, because the world doesn't want you to think this way, but trust the Bible and like look at it literally. Like the Bible intends you to look at Genesis as a literal book, a literal 6-day creation. God literally breathing life into existence, speaking life into existence. There's really Satan, there's really demons. You're really in a war right now. And guess who the savior of that war is? His name is Jesus Christ. And you got two options. You are going to kneel to the savior of the world. You're either going to do it willingly by putting your faith and trust in Jesus Christ, acknowledging him as Lord, believing that he is Lord, and repenting of your sin, or in the great white throne judgment, your ass is going to be on the ground kneeling before the King Jesus, and it will not go well with you. Do it willingly or do it unwillingly, but guess what? You're going to be bending to the will of Christ. I would do it willingly personally, and I've already done that. My man Matt's already done that. But look at the Bible. Look at this stuff. If you don't believe anything that me and Matt are saying, read 1st and 2nd Corinthians. Paul's talking about mysteries, and he's literally talking about spiritual things that are happening right now. And you may not understand that if you're not a follower of Christ. That's why I encourage you to follow Christ so that you can understand these things. One of the signs of assurance is knowing the spiritual realm and understanding what's going on there, and not the bullcrap that they've tried to present to you. But read Genesis, read Exodus, read Judges, read Samuel, read Joshua. All this is all over. First Chronicles is where the lion men are. Look up the freaking lion men, man. Look up satyrs. It will be in the King James Version, which pisses me off that ESV says goats. It's not goats. That's not what the translation is. I digress. Michael Heiser is a good one, another resource. Dr. Michael Heiser is a great resource. A podcast that me and Matt love, Blurry Creatures. Nate and Luke, if you're listening, get us on the show. We'll make you famous, okay? Just bring us on the show.
I think they're
we'll make
doing
you
a
money,
good job.
okay?
Oh,
They're doing great, but I want to be a part of the blurriness, okay?
Sure.
Check out that podcast. They're massively entertaining, and they go deep into this.
Mm-hmm.
Our shtick is politics, but the reason why there's this evil, craziness, madness going on is Genesis. There's a reason why this stuff's happening.
Yes.
That's an amazing resource for you. Go to Genesis.
That's the thing. That's the crux of it. You want to know why this is all happening? Why the world looks crazy?
Genesis. Just go to Genesis. It's right there. God literally is there. Or if God exists, why didn't he reveal himself? He has. He showed up 2,000 years ago, professed himself, and died for your sins. And he said, look at what I told you, you jabronis. It's in the freaking book. I told you. The God.
And before that, he gave us a book.
Yeah, exactly.
And he spoke through the prophets.
He told us. And you rejected him. But yeah, I mean, just look it up. It's there. Please, for God's sakes, for your soul's sake, read this stuff. Look out there. There's another guy named Rob Skiba, okay? You're probably going to get turned off because he talks about flat earth. He's got some compelling stuff in there. Just check it out. But from a biblical standpoint, look at what he talks about with the Nephilim, Nimrod, and the coming uprising that are happening in Revelation. It's unbelievable. And he gets into the Word, into the Bible. And that's where I took most of my stuff was from Rob Skiba. When I was reading this, I'm like, the New World Order makes sense now. It's not just some made up stuff. It's in the book. It's there. It's in Revelation, man. Genesis and Revelation are super important for a reason.
Yeah.
Look up guys like Rob Skiba. Look up.
You don't need Genesis and Revelation for your salvation, right?
No,
the Gospels fulfill that completely.
Amen.
But if you want to understand how the world works
and why it's doing what it's doing,
the
why?
Yes, exactly. If you want to understand the why of the world, science can only get you the how, who, what, when, and where.
They don't even get you the who half the time.
True.
Bro. They get you the how.
Yeah.
They get you the
but
how.
Not the why. The why is in Genesis and Revelation, and and so on and so forth.
Get the whys, man. Whys means so much. And we'll table this today, man. We'll come back with a part 2. We'll name this round 1, man. But I'm excited. This was a fun show. I really enjoyed this. I think the people enjoyed it too, just looking at the feedback, man. But it's somehow I've been online for like almost 2 hours and still carrying a bunch of people on Clapper. So if you're on Clapper, head over to twitch.tv/plausiblepoolishness. You're missing the whole show.
Come subscribe.
Go ahead. Here, look, I'm gonna turn it so they can see it, man. Like, come on over, man. Come check out the whole show. Look at that sexy beast right there. Make sure you come see him. It's awesome. We're a Plausible Foolishness. Come check us out, man. We're beautiful. But make sure you check us out over there in Clapper World. But twitch.tv/plausiblepoolishness. We're on YouTube and we're on Facebook Live. This was one of my favorite shows, man. I'm not gonna lie. It was a lot of fun. We went through a lot of things, not deeply. We went really shallow. We took a long boat trip on a river. We didn't explore the depths of the Mariana Trench, but it was fun.
A river cruise.
Woo! It was a river cruise, brother. Just a little river cruise, man.
So you've been watching Plausible Foolishness, home of the Rube Empire, where the people are free, the taxes are voluntary, and we serve freshly roasted liberal logic every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 9:30 p.m. right here on twitch.tv/plausiblepoolishness, YouTube, Facebook Live, anywhere you can get a podcast, Rumble, Instagram, and minds.com. Peace out.
See you, Clapper.
They gon' hate me for this one. Hashtag facts are racist. RIP, mom, you the greatest. Raised up a king and they hate it. Everyone mind about races when they're not the biggest problem we facing. Take a real look at the nation. Single motherhood inflation. Whipping your boys, I saw jumping a lady. She only 15, left for bloody and shaking. They wasn't wearing no rags. Nobody waving no flags. You ain't even gotta ask. It's black on black on black on blacks. Everybody wanna play victim. Blame everything on the system. Be a sad day when it hit them. Life could've been different if you would've listened to the information that we spit. Take it, keep it, chew it for a bit. Hold your head up, brother, never quit. Self-accountability, that's it. That'll get you all to the top. Then you really ball till you drop. Economic growth, man, I'm here to stir the pot. Say you wanna hear the truth, so I put it in the box.
Changing the